On the book of John, right? And I opened by saying that we were going to look at just the prologue, the beginning of John, right? And I talked a little bit about what, like, the concept of when you, like, at the beginning of a TV show, it gets you hook, right? Thank you. Did you look back at your notes? It's so impressive. Oh, you remembered, okay. So yeah, we talked about like when a TV show hooks you in, and for me, I talked about Stranger Things. And when I first started watching that show, you know, that introduces the idea of the upside down or the underneath or whatever it's called, and it hooked me in. It was this show that maybe I thought I shouldn't have gotten hooked onto, but it hooked me in. And we talked about the idea that is what John was writing in the beginning of his gospel, this hook. To get John's readers hooked on the gospel and to get his readers hooked on this idea that there was something great coming, and that great thing was the Word. And that everything that in the midst of darkness, this Word was bringing light and hope where there was once no light or no hope. And it was carrying on this really, really cool message. So John was trying to get his readers hooked. And tonight we're going to jump ahead just to the next chapter. We're in chapter 2 of John. And Jesus is on the scene now. And Jesus is starting to do some cool things. And Jesus is starting to kind of show who he is going to be. You see, no one really fully understood who Jesus was at that time, but he's going to start doing miracles and showing signs of who he really is and really what it is that he is about to unfold. Who is it really that John was writing about and telling people about? So he's about to start telling this great, great story. And so we're going to look at this story tonight. We're going to kind of step through it. But truly, I want you to know on the front end that I think there's two main themes, two main ideas that I want you to take out of this story. All right? Are you ready to hear just two main ideas, right? We can handle this, two ideas? Oh, yes. Okay, good. Yes. Emma's with me, right? Yeah. You ready? What are you doing? I can't see. Anyways. Number one, listen to Jesus. Say that again. Listen to Jesus. B number 2, be filled. Be filled. All right, what was A number 1? What was B number 2? Be filled. All right, so here we're gonna take a look at this story, and to do this, I feel like instead of me just reading this story and you guys maybe or maybe not listening, I should recruit some of you to help me reenact and make this scene come to life. So I need 5 volunteers. I know at least one girl. We already got one girl. There we go. First hand I saw up. Now we need one more. Elric, come on up, Elric. Here we go. All right, I got 2 people from over here. All right, Robbo, come on. Come on. What am I up to now? Hold on. I got to count. So we have Elric, Robbo, Emma. We have 4. I need one more. Aaron, come on. Here we go. All right. So. Oh, that's precious. Okay. Can I say? All right. You two. Okay, you 2 are going to be the servants.
That's racist.
It's 2017. All right. You are going to be...
I want to be Jesus.
You what?
I would be such a better Jesus.
What? You're not going to be Jesus. Calm down. All right. Aaron, you're going to be the head waiter.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Are you still cool with this?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just saying.
Leave it there. Someone take note of yet again another one of Adam's youth ministry fail stories. All right. At some point, I will tell this story some years from now, and everyone will laugh, and it'll be a great lead-in to some kid accepting Jesus. All right. So. All right, Mary, Jesus. All right. So we're gonna. You people get off. Go over there. Okay. We're gonna start with you, and so I'm gonna start reading the story. And your job, remember, your job is to when I start talking about what you're doing, or what you're saying, I'll probably come and whisper in your ear what you're supposed to say, but make sure you speak loudly. That you don't have a microphone. And so when I start saying what you're doing, you should do that thing. And, be like, it's all imagination. So follow your hearts. Okay, here we go. On the third day, there's not much for you to do. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. And Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the celebration. It's just you. I didn't have room for all the disciples. You can sit with me. So. When the wine ran out, Jesus' mother said to him, "They don't have any wine."
They don't have any wine.
Jesus replied, "Don't do this at prom. Woman, what does that have to do with me?"
Woman, what does that have to do with me?
My time hasn't come yet.
My time hasn't come yet.
Then his mother told the servants.
Hey, you servants.
It's good. Then his mother told the servants, Do whatever he tells
you to.
Nearby there was 6, but really only 4 because that's all I could find. 4 stone water jars used for Jewish cleaning rituals, each able to hold about 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water."
Fill the jars with water.
And they filled them to the brim. And they filled them to the brim. I said be creative. Okay. So, all right, so they filled them to the brim. I bet they would be carrying them back to Jesus. Would be my guess. I don't know. And they'd be heavy, remember, because they're filled to the brim. And they would have forgotten one, I guess. Then Jesus told them, "Now draw some water from them.
Now draw some water from them.
And take it to the head waiter."
And take it to the head waiter.
Now we're getting creative. And they did. The head waiter tasted the water that had become wine. He didn't know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Yeah. The head waiter called the groom and said, "Come here," and said, "Everyone serves the good wine first."
The good wine?
Everyone serves the good wine first.
Everyone serves the good wine first.
They bring out the second-rate wine only when the guests are drinking freely.
Can you go slow down?
This was supposed to make the lesson easier.
Just do it in Aaron's voice. Yeah. Just do an Aaron impression.
They bring out the second wine only when the guests are drinking freely. You kept the good wine until now. Good job, Aaron. All right. This was the first miraculous sign that Jesus did. All right, y'all go have a seat. Give it up for them. That made it way easier, right? So in this story, So in this story, Jesus' first miracle, what happens? Water into wine. He fills Gatorade jugs with wine. Jesus and his mom, the disciples are there. They're at a wedding. And all of a sudden, the wine has run out. And Jesus' mom says, hey, son, you ought to go do something about it. And then Jesus gets a little sassy back to his mom and says, woman, what does this have to do with me? That's a good job, Sam. Bye. What does this have to do with me? And then Jesus' mom says what to the servants? Do whatever he says. What was number 1 lesson? Listen to Jesus. And then after that, they go and fill them, right? See, in John, have you ever heard Dr. Chappell say before, there's no throwaway lines? He talks about, sometimes he'll say the thing like, that's not a throwaway line. And that, friends, is how John writes his entire gospel. There are no throwaway lines in this gospel. So every little line means something. And so you have to believe when you read it like that, when Jesus' mom says to the servants, do whatever he says, do you think maybe that's foreshadowing to what life is going to be like following Jesus? Do whatever he says. Lesson number 1, listen to Jesus. So the servants they go and they listen to Jesus, and they go and they take not Gatorade jugs, but they took big jars. And it says that they are stone jars used for ritual cleaning within the Judean culture. And again, that's not a throwaway line. You see, the stone jars that would have been used for purification rituals at that time, they would have been stone because they knew that they wouldn't hold any impurities. And that's why they were used for the cleansing ritual. So there's these jars that were known that they could be used for cleansing rituals. And so we know that more than likely John was using these to help us understand that this was the Judean culture. This was the nation of Israel. And the nation of Israel was this pure vessel, but it was empty. What's lesson number 2? Be filled. And Jesus tells them to take this jar that represents the nation of Israel and that it has this capability of being so pure. And he tells them to go and what? Fill it to the very brim. So they go and they fill it to the very brim, full, like Jesus told them to do. You see, Jesus, this is where John doesn't have throwaway lines. He's filling it to the brim. He's not recreating something. He's not destroying something. He's filling what has already been created by God, full to the brim. And then what happens once it's been created? What does it turn into? Wine. But Aaron, what did the servant or the head waiter say? I know, it's hard for you to remember. You serve the best wine first. See, what the head servant realized when he tasted the wine was that this wine was better than the first wine. You're supposed to start with the good wine, and then once everybody's been drinking the wine for a while, you bring out the bad stuff. But now you've brought out the good stuff. So Jesus fills the jugs not with just anything, but with the best wine. That even the head waiter noticed, man, this is filled to the brim with the best wine. Listen to God, listen to Jesus, and be filled. Tonight, I wonder where we are in need of being filled. I wonder where we are in our relationship with God that we're willing to listen to Jesus so that we could get to a place of being filled again. Remember, Jesus didn't come. He wasn't saying, I want to destroy the nation of Israel. I want to come and fill it up again. It is already this perfect creation, but I want to fill it with newness and with goodness. Young people, I wonder where we are in need to be filled this evening. The last thing is that it says that this was the first sign that Jesus performed, the first sign, a miracle that Jesus performed. And usually when we see first, we think like not second or third, but first. We think about numbers and order, but really that Greek word doesn't really carry the meaning of sequence of numbers as much as it just means the word beginning. Jesus was just getting started, is what John is saying. The very first thing was them symbolically filling the nation of Israel with the best stuff ever. Filling us with the best stuff ever. And he says, but he's just getting started. He's just starting his work. And young people, I wonder where we are tonight on whether we're willing on letting Jesus fill us and whether we're willing to listen to Jesus. Because I promise you that Jesus is just getting started with us. On Friday, late evening, I went to the celebration of life for Max Hollis, who was an active student in our Trinity campus in Spring Hill. Several of you know him. Several of our students were good friends with him. My wife was his youth minister for 2 years. And as hard as that service was, I was brought to tears of joy nearly the whole time, because there came a part in the service where about 12 of his best friends lined up, one of which is one of our students. And story after story was just how Max's life had filled their life so much. And how one student shared how Max had been the person that had brought him to Christ. Again and again, student talked about how his smile had lit up their world, about how they had seen God at work in Max. And to me, it brought me joy to hear that and to see that, because to me, that's me looking at it and saying, Jesus is just getting started with what he's doing with his story. That his story will continue to be used, that his life will continue to be used for the glorification of the kingdom. And people, I think that Jesus is just getting started with us. But I think that starts with us being willing to listen to Jesus. And also being willing to be filled with the best stuff that God has to offer. So this week, I to add a practical nature to that, like you ask, Adam, what does it mean to be filled by Jesus? How do I listen to Jesus? I think that starts every morning when you wake up. And you can either look at that day as an opportunity to walk through the motions and do everything that you normally do, or to say, Jesus, would you just give me one word of what I need to do today? Would you steer me in one direction? Let me hear you in some way, and just ask that. And maybe you hear something or maybe you don't. Or God, maybe steer me in the direction of one person that I can talk to maybe affect and change their life. Maybe it means a relationship right now that you know is not going well in your life, and that maybe you need to have a conversation about that. Or maybe something that you're doing in your life, or maybe a struggle that you have that you know needs changing. I challenge you tonight to listen to what Jesus would tell you about that and allow him to fill you. Let's pray.